Hello YouTube and welcome back to the BLS-Podcast. It's been a while since we've done a proper podcast like this, a proper podcast setup. This is episode 6 and today I am joined not by Sam Beeman. I finally got rid of him. He's gone. He's out the way. I'm joined by Jake Bonner.
Hello there. Thank you for having me in the podcast for this one.
No, thank you very much, Jake, for taking the time to join us. So, as
and I find it funny, obviously I haven't got Sam here.
well, yes, it's the first one I've managed to get rid of him. I've been saying I've been trying to get rid of him for the last 3 podcasts I've done, and it's just he's always there. So yeah, no Sam today. So you'll have to just deal with me for a change and we can have a nice chat, Jake. So, what's this podcast about? Well, as most of you can see on the screens, it's about peak rail. And Jake is the sort of project leader, as you would say, in our BLS world for this route. Am I right, Jake?
Yes. Yeah, for me sins.
So, just give us a quick rundown on the early stage of it. So what made you think I want to build this route?
Well, the route I started working on this route. Oh my god, it was during lockdown down last year. I rephrased myself, but back in English. It was during lockdown last year, so it was about January, February time that I was bored, as we all were this time, or so last year. Got nothing really to do. I was struggling to find something to do, and I thought, well, it's a real. I've always been interested in doing for TS. I had a version that was on UKTS by someone who'd made. It was a very freeware version, a lot of requirements, and I used to volunteer at Peak Rail. I was a trainee guard there, so it's always been a line that I've always found quite an interesting route. Okay, it's very short, but it was something I was always interested in wanting to do for TS. And for those people who are listening to this podcast, some of you may be aware I actually did a very old or a very poor version of the route that's on UKTS at the minute. At some point that probably will get taken down or stay up, but it was a very poor version. I always said to myself, I want to redo it. If I could, if I had the time and patience, I'd redo it. And yeah, I started, got Google Maps working, the overlay, started working on it, and then Google Maps stopped working and I shelved it until obviously I then approached you guys at BLS.
Yeah, and then that's when I stepped in, helped you get Google Maps to get going again, and
yes,
then,
you very kindly helped with that.
Yeah, and then was it Will jumped in and helped you do get more of the scenery started?
Yes, not long after I joined BLS, because at the time I knew I was friends with Will and Sam on Facebook, but didn't really interact with either of them that much. And then I discovered BLS as a Facebook page, and I sort of said, and I spotted their Peak Rail post, and I said, and I messaged and said, well, I'm working on a version of Peak Rail. Do you want it? My version's currently been shelved because I can't get Google Maps working, but you're welcome to have it if you want. And yeah, from there I sort of ended up joining the team as at first a tester, and obviously started rebuilding all that. And through that, Will kindly helped me work on the route, and I owe him a lot of gratitude and just how much he's done. In fact, this reskin here on the screen now is one of his that's coming with the route, and the work that he's done on the route is incredible. I owe him a hell of a lot of thanks, more than I probably could ever repay, to be honest, because he's put some long hours in. And I know we've said this before on a separate stream, but he's pulled a few night shifts doing this. In fact, I think both of us have over time, and I think looking back, you think, why the hell do I bother doing that? But to see where we are now, look at this. This is Church Lane level
Yeah.
crossing. it just looks fantastic. This is Will's handiwork, and it's just incredible. He's got such an eye for detail.
Yeah, so just for clarification, at the minute the route's mainly trackside scenery orientated,
yes.
Isn't it?
Yes. There's a few gaps between Roseley South and Darley-Dale, and obviously Darley-Dale to Matlock. But you can see to the right of this screenshot, there's quite a big gap. I think in the version that I've got now, I've probably filled some of that up. I think off the top of my head, yes, it's very much a work in progress still, and done whenever we get a chance. Really, it's one of those things, isn't it? Really, that all the good things in life take a long time to get done.
Well, they do. Yeah, that's very true. So, just so we can give people the time scale on it, don't expect this anytime soon because it's still in its early stage. If I'm not being too bold in saying that.
Yeah. I know we were saying this before, or we said this previously, that I'd like to hope we get it out sometime next year. I say sometime very loosely on that because the real hope eventually is to actually have custom buildings, and one of them being this screenshot here, where we want to replace those buildings with custom models of the station buildings.
Yeah.
In fact, this screenshot actually gives you an idea just how basic the scenery is at this point still. But yeah, the hope eventually is to have custom objects, station buildings, engine shed, things like that. But I think my sort of plan is to release a beta version, possibly.
Okay.
Normal scenery. But I don't know. I'm umming and ahhing about that because at the minute, the biggest problem we've currently got still is getting down to get reference material. Obviously, we've done a signs that Steve Davis or Snud has very kindly done for us through a lot of I think we gave him some material for that. But the buildings themselves are becoming a bit of a ball ache trying to replicate those. This signal box is actually really good because it looks pretty much bang on. But obviously, the buildings at Roseley are a bit of a pain in the backside. The ones at Darley-Dale, obviously, the settled call assets really do work. But part of me wanted to see some custom objects just because to make it look better.
Yeah, so it's on the screen right now. So it's these buildings here that you want to see if we can try and get some custom stuff done.
Yes.
And how likely is that to be done, say, to go and get the reference material this year? We're now in October, so is that likely to happen?
Very unlikely.
Right.
I think it's going to be because, it's very unlikely. Obviously, in my spare time, I'm doing other things. I run a YouTube channel. I've got other projects on the go. I'm also then away for 2 weeks in December, so I think it'll be at some point middle of next year, maybe early next year, middle of next year, if I can, all being well. But yeah, it's. I think with any route building thing, and having spoken to other developers, it's one of those things. It's patience is the key,
yes,
and it's something that I've learnt a long time through working with this route. And I'm sure Will definitely agree on this. I'm sure there's been times where we've both been doing work with the route at midnight and gone, oh, for goodness sake, when TS dumps. And let's face it, TS is very good at dumping for absolutely no apparent reason.
So,
in fact, this screenshot just go on, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, I've paused it on this screenshot because you mentioned the Settler Carlisle assets working really well, and this screenshot does just show how well they look for a representation of them.
Yeah. How well do you know this route, out of interest?
To be honest, I've never been to Peak Rail. It's one on my list to do. So when we was talking about doing the BLS recce up there for
that never happened.
It never happened through many reasons. But it could happen next year. Obviously, I'm going to be limited next year, but that will be more information will be made public about that soon. I'm going to be out of that. I'm not going to be allowed. Well, I'm not going to be out. I'm going to be out of action going places for quite some time. But yeah, again, that'll be announced maybe at the end of the year, but it might be early next year. So, if I did want to go and come up with you, get some photos, reference materials with you, it wouldn't be until after May for me. But anyway, enough about me. So these buildings, are this something are you going to want to get some custom buildings here?
Yes. I know the person who is not here to cause us havoc, a certain Mr. Beeman, says that, to be honest, we don't really need them. But me personally, I'm a bit of a nitpicker, and I like things to be perfect, really, where I can.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of one of those kind of people. I'm sure you're the same with routes you've done yourself. And while it does look good, my eventual aim is to have custom assets in the route where we can, as much as we can. Obviously, there is a limit to what you can do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just becomes difficult, and our poor 3D modeler will want to murder us.
So,
but
let me ask the question: if it came to it, and the route's there, it's done. It's ready to be released, but you haven't got your custom buildings or assets, or you've got some, but there's still some being worked on. Would you release the route, or would you just wait until they're ready?
That's a good question, to be honest with you. As I said a few minutes ago, if we got to a stage where we are now, where obviously when we get to a stage where the scenery is complete, but we're just waiting on custom assets, then we've got some of the signs in already, I'd probably release a beta version like they did with North York Moors, and have it as a beta and say, well, we will give you some custom assets at some point. Be patient with us. We will do it. It will happen. I believe another developer, I won't mention who, is doing the same with another route. I think you may know which one I'm on about. It's a certain route in Derbyshire as well. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that done with the custom assets. But yeah, if we had more custom assets and we were waiting on a small number, I'd probably then wait. But it wouldn't be beyond the possibility to release a beta version as it is now, but once the scenery is complete, i.e. all the sort of further away scenery, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's on the cards. It's on the cards. I can't confirm or deny anything yet because
that's fair. That's
at the minute we're quite far way off at the minute still.
Yeah. So you mentioned, again, going back to as we do, like you mentioned little things, and I'll just pick up on them. You mentioned that this is a reskin done by Will that will be coming with the route.
Yeah.
This 31.
Yeah.
So is this just the one reskin, or is there going to be multiple? Or again, is it too early for you to decide?
Interesting question. Loco-wise, at the minute, I think there's possibly only one, because at the minute, I'm only saying there's the one because I need to speak to Will and yourself about regarding steam locos possibility, or the diesels, if we can, whatever it's something needs to look into. However, if you in this screenshot, if you look straight between the buffer and the bit of wood of the coaling area, you can see a maroon coach. That is the sneak to the other reskins that are coming with it, because for those of you who are eagerly eyed looking at this, you'll notice that one of the screenshots earlier was the maroon, the coaching stock themselves. It's a mixture of two Mark II A coaches in maroon and a rake of maroon Mark I's. Now, Will has been very, very good to me and slowly recreating the rake from photographs in the colours as they are. And each coach is very different to each other. There's a lot of, some are very bleached, some are very faded, some are absolutely spotless, and he's trying to do his best to try and replicate that. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all to do that. Obviously, I've now dabbled with reskinning for BLS, and it's very difficult to do. And one of the things you'll notice about this reskin of the 31 is that if you, depending which side you look at it, I believe it's the door to the right of this screenshot is slightly darker blue than everything else.
Yes,
And
I've just noticed that.
the 31 in real life looked absolutely appalling. It was when I was there, it was such a poor state. The paint was peeling so bad, and it used to clag like mad. I used to always joke saying that it was a miracle it actually ran. It was in such a poor state of health. I'd say you see videos of cars absolutely chucking out thick fumes, or a Bully Pacific chucking out fumes. That thing used to clag blue smoke like no tomorrow. It was appalling. How it ran, I do not know, but they seem to nurse it throughout.
Well, yeah, if there's a will, there's a way.
Oh yeah.
No, so yeah, so as you're saying, so you've got the reskins for the coaches, you've got the 31 reskin. Not giving anything away, but I'm guessing you've got ideas for more.
Yes, I have. One of the locos that was based there, a steam loco. You may know which one I'm on about. Actually, there was two actually. One's still there, and it's based with the railway. One was privately owned and left due to, shall we say, difficult circumstances between the railway and the owner. Is what I'll probably is the best way to describe it. And as a result, the loco left. It's a loco that was used. Well, I won't give it away, but all I'll say, it's a loco that has connections to the war effort. You may know which one I'm on, what class I'm on about, but I'll leave it as that, I think, for time being, because of it's still a discussion to be had.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm just going to pause the podcast here for a minute, and I'm going to be doing the good old YouTube diagnostic rubbish. So, as a lot of you know, not too long ago, a couple of months ago, we had our 500 subscriber special, and again, we thank everyone for subscribing. Since then, we've gained another 50 subscribers. Well, 51 if you want to be precise. And again, we thank you all new subscribers for joining us, and we're hoping you're enjoying the content on YouTube and through the BLS team. But there is still 75% of you guys watching our videos that aren't subscribed. Come on, all it takes is a little couple of seconds just to click that subscribe button, maybe hit the notification bell whilst you're out doing that, and it just helps build the community up with BLS. And why not join the Discord server as well? Once you've hit the YouTube and you're enjoying that, come and join us on Discord, where you can actually come and chat with us in different topics or related to BLS content. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and come and join us.
We are a friendly bunch, I promise.
We are. So, just going to change the subject ever so slightly off peak rail, and it's something that's it doesn't complex me. That's probably the wrong word of saying it. It makes me ask questions and wonder how you do it. Some people who watch our videos or are part of our Facebook page know that you're also working on Ecclesbourne.
Yes, for me sins.
So, what baffles me a bit, what madness does it take to start building peak rail to then go, I'm going to start Ecclesbourne as well and do two routes at the same time? You can see where I'm going with this, can't you?
Oh God, don't worry. I'm currently in fits of laughter. What was the... to be honest with you?
Yeah, so that's what I want to know is what's the thinking behind getting started with Eccles, whilst you've got Peak Rail on the go?
Well, I'd probably say I was either very drunk when I came up with the idea, very stupid. But honest answer really was, I knew at the time when I first joined BLS, Sam wanted to do both routes, and I live very local to both lines. I'm only, for those who don't who met me or may not know, I'm very low on Burton on Trent. So I'm Staffordshire based, so it's maybe about half an hour to an hour's for me to get to both if I want to do any YouTube filming. And it's both lines. It's been something I've always wanted to have in TS. We've never had Ecclesbourne in TS, but we did have a version of Pete Rail, as I said earlier. And obviously, then when I joined the BLS team, I was aware that Sam wanted to do both routes in TS, but he wanted it to be a extension to the Midland mainline route. I just said to Sam, not being funny, Sam, but trying to do that, you're going to kill the game, or you'll kill the route. It's going to be too much. It isn't worth doing that way. And I persuaded him to say, I said to him, if we're going to do it as a separate route, and we'll do it the easy way. That way we can use the lovely VP track, as you can see from these screenshots, and it'd be a lot better. You'll also have the jointed rail sound. I'm not actually, I can't actually remember how I ended up doing Ecclesbourne. I think somebody else within the team or past members was going to do it and didn't, or they never started it, and I sort of said, well, I'll do it. I'm happy to work on it. I'm very good at route, or you guys said to me, well, you're very good at route building. You sort of taught me into going, well, you know what you're doing route building. I was thinking, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'll do it. And it's sort of become like that, and I suppose you could say. We're very lucky that there's some guys at Ecclesbourne who've given us a lot of reference material, and I'm in talks with somebody who's been giving me reference material for the route, and yeah, and it's one of those weird things because some people don't even probably know Ecclesbourne actually exists, let alone Pete Rail, because they're not particularly as well known as lines like Severn Valley, Great Central, North Yorkshire Moors, West Somerset, but they both offer interesting views. They're completely different surroundings. It's just lovely. It's a line that has always been desperately needed for TS as a preserve line. Not to give too much away, but Ecclesbourne isn't flat by any means of the imagination. For those of you who know, Ravenstore branch, I believe it's like 1 in 27. So that'll provide you some entertainment.
Yeah,
it's something.
It is quite a steep bank, that one.
But yeah, it's an interesting question to how I what was the word you said? How I ended up doing both while I was working on one already.
Yeah.
Honest answer, that I really don't know.
Well, that's fair enough.
I must have been mad.
Yeah.
I must have either been mad or very drunk to have agreed. But to be honest, for all it's felt on both routes with working on them, I wouldn't go back and not do it. It's been interesting to work on both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to quickly mention about Ecclesbourne, the track's all in.
Right. Okay.
So as far as I'm the last thing, the track is all in. It's just now the work of the scenery, which is pretty much the same as Pete Rail. Pete Rail's probably, I'd say, 40-50% complete, but the track's all in. It's just getting the scenery finished off. And in fact, looking at this screenshot, the Pete Rail, you wouldn't even believe that half the route had no scenery.
Yeah.
or behind those trees was very, very basic scenery.
Yeah. So, bringing it back to Peak Rail, what's your... So we're at this stage now where you're saying you're about 40 to 50% complete. What's the next stage of development you're working on for Peak Rail?
Well, at the minute it's basically focusing on getting the scenery away from the track finished off. As you can see this bit here at Matlock, this bit's the very little scenery here, and that's one of the key stages, the key bits that needs doing really, to make the route look realistic. and I think it was this week or a couple of days ago, I sent Mr. Beeman the latest version that I've got of the route, so he could work on that lock, just to sort of help relieve some of the stress off me, because obviously I won't give too much away, but there are other little projects I'm working on that haven't yet been announced. So this is a little bit of a Easter egg for you guys. But in the meantime, while I'm working on these two routes, so I seem to be giving myself plenty of work to do. That's all I'll say. But no, yeah, there's still a fair bit to do with Compete Rail. I still need to discuss with Will about finishing off the coach reskins, because some of them aren't finished yet. But that's not a priority. The main priority is just getting the scenery finished off. You can see, you look in this screenshot, you can see a massive open space between the two buildings. This scene, look, I love this scene because that sign just makes it look so realistic, and that was good fun actually putting that together. Trying to move those fences though is a bloody nightmare. I hate using lofts. They drive up the wall. The problem with the lofts is the fact you drag one bit and the whole lot moves. Oh, okay, where's that gone? But no, I digress on that subject.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, as you say, it's just there's a lot of things when it comes to TS that are just, you want to do something, but the game is saying no, you do it this way.
Funny enough on that subject, when I was doing Peak Rail, when I first started doing it, there was no spin on it. When I handed it over to Will to help me work on it, there was probably very little scenery. I think there was only the platforms and maybe a couple of small buildings in it, or a few buildings in it, like the station building at Garlidale. And one of the things that I found was that, I think it was at Matlock, trying to get the scenery at Matlock Station itself, i.e. putting the lofts in for the platform lofts, into the invisible platforms, it took me maybe a whole day to get it to work, because for whatever reason, TS has a thing where it doesn't sometimes like you moving or lifting lofts up and down with the arrows, because it then dumps the game. And to say that I'm actually, how I've kept me cool with TS, I really don't know over the years, because when it happens, it really winds you up.
Yeah.
And especially if you get to save it as well. You do 4 or 5 hours worth of work and it's gone like that.
Yeah, that's always a kicker.
It's probably the hardest.
Yeah. So I've just paused the slideshow on this screenshot. So Matlock Riverside. This one of the signs done by Steve, aka Snud?
Yes. Good old Steve Davis, or Snud, as his thing is within the TS community. Yes. He's actually a very valued member of the team, and we owe him a lot of thanks, really, because obviously he's working on buildings for other routes within the BLS thing, but also he agreed to work on the signs and buildings, whatever we needed for this route, and obviously providing reference to, as I said earlier, is the major thing at the minute, although it's not very easy at times. And yeah, these signs are one of these. They just look the part. They look fantastic, and I don't think they're going to be all of them either. I think there's a lot more we're going to add yet, sign-wise.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember how he ended up doing these, or ended up asking about these signs, because I can't actually remember how we ended up getting reference material for those signs. Have been brutally, not for that one at least. Darlingdale one was probably a lot easier, but that one was quite a difficult one, because there's even this flat here in this shot where the fence goes round, you couldn't actually get close enough to take a photo of that sign.
So is that again me not being ever been to Peak Rail, so Matlock Riverside, I'm guessing that's not accessible by public footpath then?
Where that footpath was in that screenshot, the path goes round under the river bridge, and back round up to the halt. So the only way, so you actually can get to the halt. They have been actually using the halt this year at Riverside, or the temporary platform, but you get to it from the opposite. You get to it from the roadside, which is further down towards Matlock Station, where it's very hard to explain. If anyone's been to Matlock, you'll know where I'm referring to. But yeah, and unfortunately, my photo camera is not good enough to be able to zoom
So
to get the right angle for stuff.
yeah, so you mentioned the Darlydale sign, so there it is. There, another one of Snud's.
Yep, and obviously the sign that's on that thing we saw earlier. We did have a complaint about this sign from one of our lovely TS community people, and you know what I'm referring to. God knows why they complained about it, but I actually like this sign. And obviously I know Sam does. This sign looks fantastic, and it's such a recognisable sign when we go to Darlydale. It's the only, actually, ironically, it's the only one of that design at that station.
Okay.
All the other things that say Darlydale are benches. There's a weird fact for you all. I was there early this year, a couple of months ago, for the Mixed Traffic Gala, and I actually had forgotten about that. I actually discovered it by pure chance. I said, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, obviously this scene here, this is coming towards Church Lane from Darlydale, so the line then goes up to Roseley. And you can just see the signal box hiding in the vegetation. Obviously, this is the famous scene. If you ever come into Roseley to park your car, obviously you've got the entrance gate, and obviously the gate where they load engines from low loaders as well.
Okay. We go back to the Matlock Riverside. So, in regards to this route, do you have a favourite section of it so far, or I shouldn't say what's your favourite section of it. I should say, what's your most favourite part of working on it so far?
That's a good question, to be honest with you. I think the best bit has probably been the bit at Roseley. I think one of the bits, at least, because you obviously can just see the Narragates Railway, so that you can see the platform there with the people in the ground. But also, you've got the sheds here, obviously, in the yard where the 31 sat over the inspection pit. But I don't know. I quite like the bit that Will's done at Darlydale, because you go over the level crossing at Church Lane, and you go round the curve, slight curve, admittedly at 10 mile an hour, mind you, and then you come over the crossover and you got double track into the station area. It's a long loop as well, for those that don't know, because it's designed to take a long train. I think take up to 11, 12 coach trains, obviously for rail tour purposes. And yeah. I love this. I love the scene we had earlier where the screenshot was looking towards the station. Here, this one. This is that one. And this scene never ceases to make me smile. And unfortunately, this isn't even my own handiwork. This is Will's handiwork. But
right.
I love that scene. That shot looks beautiful. And I remember watching Will working on this. And it must have been sometime end of last year, early this year. And it was just lovely watching him work on it and seeing the route come together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been a fantastic project to work on. And I, as I said earlier, I owe a lot of gratitude and thanks to Will for the work he's put in, and a lot of overnighters he's done as well. I'm sure you probably remember some of them as to why.
I do, yeah, Sam. Yeah, I do remember him doing a lot of work.
Obviously, I should at this point, I should add thanks to Steve as well for the signs. Thanks for if you've both listened to this. Thank you so much for your help with this. It's been such a lot. You've put a lot of help in, and I owe you such a big thanks to it. This project, as I said earlier, was originally going to be shelved because I couldn't get Google Maps to work, and it's nice that we've been able to pick it up, carry on with it, get to the stage now where it's slowly getting there to complete. It's not quite complete. We've got a long way. We've got a fair way off yet, but I'd say it's sort of on the home straight. It's not quite. It's getting there. It's getting there slowly.
Yeah.
Again, another piece of Will's handiwork, the Mark 1 RMB and the BSO, Mark 2 BSO. Again, more of Will's handiwork. And yeah, it's just nice to see it coming on, really.
Yeah, and as we've been saying, it's it's getting there. Nothing stuff like this, especially route building, takes time. Nothing happens overnight, as most people know. Once it's done, and it's up to that standard of what people expect now, I think that's going to be a big relief off your shoulders.
Yes, and I'm sure that we'll also be the same, to be honest, because at the end of the day, we do this for the fun of it. We're not like Just Trains or another developer. We do this for the fun and giving people the pleasure of playing with routes that they may have been on, they may even volunteer on, and being able to do it and drive on it in TS is always rewarding, and it's nice that way. Really, there aren't many routes that are so you can drive and you go, right, that's proper, that's up to date, that's accurate, this is that, and it's just nice, and and to the point of having proper painted up or custom reskin rolling stock. If you look back, and I'm sure I've said this to you, and I'm sure I said this to Sam as well, go back 10 years when I first joined if not maybe more, when I joined the TS community 2010, 2011, and we didn't even have advanced steam locos, and Just Trains were very, very basic bits of rolling stock they used to give you and release, whereas now we're looking at stuff like this, and it's just incredible. If I'm TS community, I don't think there was a lot of 2-foot gauge or narrow gauge stuff. Now we've got Festinio, we've got Welsh Highland, we've got I can't think what else we've got, but you know what I mean. And it's incredible. You look at the Just Train stuff, digress slightly to go off topic. For me, I think the thing I like about this project has been just how much it shows that TS has gradually got better and better. I know people use TS World, or people go, oh, TS is a very old game and it has its faults, but for all its faults, it's incredible. What we can do with Train Sim, it's just...
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, Jake. It's amazing to see what can be achieved through a game that is running on very, very old... it runs off a very old engine, as it were. Pardon the pun. Well, it's not a pun, but it's true. The game runs off an old engine, and the amount of stuff that is squeezed out of this game, it can be impressive, but if it gets squeezed out a little bit too much, we all start shouting at it. Because that's what it does.
It's incredible, because I remember when Great Central Railway, the first version by Matt Walmsley, obviously now Senior Supreme, was produced, and it was Falmouth track. It was Isle of Wight track. Sorry, and off the top of my head, it was the old digital traction coaching stock, and you compare it to what he's got now, and you wouldn't recognise the game. You would not recognise the route exactly. Or anything else. Okay, we've still got the problem with these crossing gates.
Yeah, but
we'll try and fix that. But...
Yeah, being animated, that's a bit harder.
Yeah, but I think for me, that the thing I've loved about this project is just looking how much things have improved. I said that generally, to be honest, because again, the 31, I remember when I first had the 31 pack and just default sounds and all that. When you go back 10 years ago, there was no way. We always used to think. I remember when, obviously a couple of years ago, or something. I'll explain. I'll try and put that better. But obviously now we've got some nice looking Mark 1s and Mark 2s. We're actually pretty much the same developer, sound pretty much the same, and look pretty much the same quality. Go back 10 or back 5 years ago, or even like earlier than that, there was no way. We were still using the train stuff or the Kuju stuff, and we never thought we'd get any rolling stock. And it's very hard to explain, but seeing how much things have changed is incredible. Look at the trees, for example. Yeah. Go back even just 10 years ago, it was all Kuju. It
was all mainly 2D stuff. Then we started seeing the 3D stuff.
I mean, it's like you look at the state. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, all I was going to say is you saying about the rolling stock. I can remember the time when the DT Mark 1 pack came out. I can remember when
Yes,
that
actually,
came out.
I can.
And that was the next best thing. It was like, yes, get rid of the Kuju ones. We're
Yeah,
playing
funny
these.
enough.
Then, not too long later,
Yeah.
Kuju or DTG released their newer version of the Mark 1. Which I think they called it something free. It was like their Mark 3 version of the Mark 1.
Yeah.
And now we've got the AP Mark 1. So it's just a nice variant. You can see where it's come from to where we are now. As you say, it is a massive improvement. So what I'm going to do now is also do a cheeky plug for the new and improved BLS website, because that's only been released not too long ago. So,
and that's ironic because a couple of my, sorry, just to jump in quickly, some of my reskins that I've recently released, not so long ago, just to plug my stuff, are also on the website.
Yes, they are. So,
no, you're trying it. I'll do it as well.
Yeah. So, as I'm sure a lot of people know, the original British Locomotive Studios website was, well, it was built to serve a purpose, which it done. But as time has gone on and more content's been added to the website, we've listened to a lot of feedback from people where it was very difficult to navigate. You'd have to go through a lot of things to get to the certain thing you want. Now we've got this brand new website, which is making not just our lives easier, but it's making your lives and experience with BLS that much better. Smoother, faster, how can I put it? Faster getting to the thing you want. There's a new reskin or a new pack, you can go straight to it. There's none of this faffing around trying to go through everything to find it. You can just go straight to it. Also, on top of the website, we've released some merch.
That's very true, actually, yeah.
How people will take that, I don't know. But it's there, it's on the website, it is sold through, I will have to just make this known, it's sold through another company. I believe it's a model railway shop company at the Combe Valley Railway. So that's where the merch is sold from. But you can see the merch on our website and you can access it through our website, and it will link you straight to the seller's website. And there is only a few bits on there at the minute, so a couple of mugs, coasters, mouse mats. We are looking at adding more, but for now, that's where we are with it. So that's the new stuff from BLS that I thought I just need to plug in there right now, which is the improved section of BLS, which is nicely leaning on to what we're saying about improvement from DTG and Train Sim.
Oh yes, definitely. It's funny, going back to what we were just saying, just to slightly go off topic. Obviously, I remember. Well, it's funny looking back because obviously back in 2018, Vulcan Productions released their freeware coach multi pack.
Yes.
With the old.
Yes.
And for me, that was the bee's knees. I absolutely loved it. I was so pleased with it. And
yeah,
then,
I remember that coming out. I can remember I couldn't get it at first because I didn't have the DTG 6MT. I only had the Just Trains one, and I can remember waiting for a sale to get it because I didn't want the loco, because the loco was, well, I'm not going to beat around the bush, that was naff. But I wanted the coaches for the Vulcan Productions pack.
Yeah. But no, it's incredible just how much things have changed. Obviously, then in December 20, well, just after Christmas 2019, going to 2020, before the dreaded pandemic struck us all, AP then started teasing us, and it was a video. I remember it clearly to this day. I think it was a 37 dragging some Mark 1 stock. It was like, oh, this looks nice. And then we discovered that it, obviously as a result we now have 3 types of bogie as well. It came with it. So you stable bogies. And obviously you had various liveries and all that. Obviously, since that's been released, just to quickly jump back into Pete Rail to sort of keep with the subject.
Yep.
All the coaches within this pack have the correct bogey types, and the same with the region letter on the side. So if this coach, for example, I think is SC8 1835. I think I might have got that wrong off the top of my head. I can't remember live with me. But yeah, and that's one thing that since I've been in BLS, obviously I've learned to reskin, and I'm obviously doing other reskins that are projects that haven't been released yet. And it's to watch this space, by the way, guys. Keep a lookout for upcoming projects from me regarding reskins. There are a few little teasers coming soon for you all. And again, they'll be custom reskins with the correct bogey type and the original letter on them. But yeah, I can't actually think what else to say, to be honest with you. Have you got anything else to say to me? I can't think of anything.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered all the bases when it comes to this route. Obviously, we've gone off topic here and there, but hey-ho, that's life. That's what a podcast is about. We just waffle on. So, in a perfect world, Jake, in a perfect world, would you want to see this out next year? Like, I mean, fully released in an ideal world, or would you want it pushed back a bit from where we are now?
Yeah, in an ideal world, if we could do it, I'd release it tomorrow with full custom buildings and all that. We're not in an ideal world. The route's still a far way off, unfortunately. Like everyone in life, we've got personal lives. As I said, I've got a YouTube channel. I do other things in my spare time. I'm a volunteer on the Mid Railway, and TS takes a back seat, unfortunately. Obviously, the guys who've been helping with the route, Will, he's busy. He's got a personal life. He's busy. He's not been able to do anything with BLS. In fact, I don't actually know whether he actually is properly involved with BLS or is he just does bits and pieces. But I know he's obviously agreed to keep with this project. He's
still helping out with this. Yeah.
This is one project that he's agreed to help on, and he's obviously we're carrying on with the coach reskins. But in an ideal world, I'd love to see this out next week. we could manage it, but we can't. I know when we were talking at the start of the year, I remember I saying, "Oh, I'd love to see this out this year." You said, "Fat chance," and I started thinking, "Oh, yeah, we'll see."
Yeah,
4 or 5 months down the line.
I will admit to it. I did say fat chance of seeing it out.
I wasn't just you. I don't even think it was Will. I think it was Sam and Will and you. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, I want to prove you wrong. How much I'm eating humble pie.
Oh dear. But yeah, so as we keep saying, it's gonna take time. Nothing's gonna happen in.
Oh, it is.
Nothing's gonna happen in 5 minutes with these things. But
oh God, no.
But hopefully, people listening to this podcast or watching to the podcast would sort of get an understanding of where the route is at this stage, at this date, how much more work still needs to be done. So hopefully we've answered a few questions through that. So just before we end the podcast, have you got anything else to add to it, Jake?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, obviously, you were going back earlier and you were about the Discord server. For anyone that's interested, if anyone, I'm just going to quickly plug this in just in case anyone's interested. I don't know whether anybody is, but if anyone's interested in, for whatever reason, if you haven't already joined the BLS Discord server, come and join the server. I will plug this again just to echo what you said earlier about the server. If you want to keep up to date with this project, by all means, join the BLS server on Discord. and if for whatever, or going to say, if for whatever reason we're in the public part of the server, and I or one of the somebody else in the team's in there, if you've got any questions about the route, or you got you want to find out any more about the route, by all means, drop us a message or speak to us in the server. I'm more than happy to show people what I'm doing, i.e. streams route building while I'm working on the route. I'm more than happy to do that for anybody and talk to them about the route and to show little teasers within a chat or a VC. By all means, come and speak to me in the BLS server. I'm more than happy to sort of show you what I'm doing with the route. That's perfectly hard. I'm perfectly fine with that, as long as everybody else is within the server who will agree with that. Yeah, and the same with Ecclesbourne. Obviously, certain things at the minute I am keeping to myself because we don't want other developers going, "Oh, we'll do this," because that's the way with life. I won't mention anything in particular, but yeah. Apart from that, I think that's about it. To be honest with you, yeah. Thanks for having me on today's podcast.
That's no problem, Jake. Thank you for taking the time for joining us. So, as Jake's just said, please join us on Discord, and all our social media links will be in the description of this podcast, as well as the link to the new website. Please go check it out. It's such a nice, fresh look for the team. I say the team.
And it's so much easier to navigate as well.
It is. I say it's a fresh look for the team. It's just a fresh look in general for British Locomotive Studios. So, as I say, links in the description. Like, share, subscribe, comment, or on the video /podcast, or even come into the Discord server and have a chat with us. So, with all that being said, I've been your host. I can't even speak now. I'm losing it. Been going nearly an hour and I'm losing the way to talk. I've been your host, Jordan Deverson. Thank you, Jake, for joining us on this podcast. And
You're very welcome.
And we will see everyone on the next one. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.